Hi.
I'm Gab.
I'm Christina.
And this is Alma y Sol.
A podcast made by us.
For you. Okay. So, again, sorry that we haven't done anything in like a little over a month. But yeah, life gets really crazy, as we've already stated. The reason we're in the same clothes is because we filmed 2 episodes in the same night. So that's why we're wearing the same thing as the last episode.
It's 10:40.
It's 10:40. We filmed the other episode at 8-ish. Doesn't matter. We're still a little awkward with our transitions because we lost our touch, I guess.
Did we ever have our touch?
We'll work on it. Question mark. So yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for tuning in. This is an episode that we've been thinking of for a while. It's a little hard because it's on the topic that has been difficult for us and for a lot of people in this country, and that is the elections and the results. Yeah. So I guess we'll start. Okay, so where were we the day of elections?
Yeah, so we were at college. I know for me, I was in the library like during the time of the elections, and I was like listening to the news, or like and then I was like, LOL, this is like a little stressful. And so then I was like, I don't want to go to my room because my roommate is not the safety and security that I need right now. I can't stay in the library, I don't know where to go. So then I came to the OMD, the Office of Multicultural Development, and I came into this room, and Gab was here. 2 of our friends were here. Yeah.
Yeah. Prior to being in this room, I don't remember where I was, but I just remember being with Val and like not knowing really what to do. So we like came here and we like weren't about to watch the elections in like some other room on campus or like in the general like student area. So we came in this room and we turned on Univision and we were watching it, and we were sitting at this table, and one of Val's friends, who's also our friend, came in with chicken nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just like eating our angst at the moment, and I kept refreshing like the live stream on like online, and I was like, wow, I kind of hate Texas, but I'm happy that my area is blue, I guess. Yeah, and then just slowly it kept getting more red, and then Florida turned red. And then we were in shambles. Yeah.
Yeah, we stayed here until closing, which was at 1 a.m. And I remember the man coming in. So the custodial staff will kick you out essentially at 1. And I remember him coming in, and all of us were just sobbing. You know what I mean? And he's like, okay, I'll have to leave. And we were like, okay. And Gab and I lived in the dorm across campus. And I remember us walking home, and I lived on the 5th floor and she lived in the basement. And it was just really sad. And then I don't know, I feel like you were going somewhere.
Yeah.
So, like, she wasn't gonna be here
The next day.
the next day. Oh, yeah. She, like, was, I don't know. What was it?
Pause.
Mhm.
Do you remember what the name of the BuzzFeed girl was?
Oh, yeah.
She's dating Zach.
No, she was dating Chris. Jessica. No, Jessica. With J, with Y. Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Resume. Yeah, I remember watching Univision, and this girl from BuzzFeed, Jessica, was like talking about like the results. She was like the young correspondent, like essentially she was like the face of the youth, and she like broke down on like national TV. She was like crying, and like I was shook. I was like, what the heck? Like, she's on national TV crying about the president, and like the camera was like on her alone. Like, she was at a table like this by herself, and she was like, I can't believe it. Like, this person won. And like the camera changes and goes to like the two main Univision people, and they're like, yeah, like we're all a little like in shock, like whether we're like showing emotion or not, like we're in shock, and we are basically paralyzed. We like don't know what to do, and we don't know what this means for our communities. What did the next day look for you?
I remember like not talking to anyone. I remember coming to the OMD and everyone, it like felt really like, you know, like when something is like not real, or you're like, oh, like did that really happen? Like this is like so terrible. Like this like must not actually be real. I remember like heavily avoiding my roommate and trying to just like not engage with anyone, like not talk to anyone. Yeah, I didn't feel like I had a lot of people like where I lived, or like who were in my classes, who were like these people who like got it, or like understood, or were as sad and fearful as me. You know what I mean? And so I just didn't talk to anyone, and I was just sad.
Yeah, the next day I like woke up at 4 because I was going to a conference that day, and the conference happened to be in my hometown. So I like woke up, I'm at the airport, and it's literally so quiet. You could hear everyone like think, and it was just so quiet, like so quiet, so eerie. I was like, what in the world? This is scary. And like I remember thinking like, how many of these people voted for him? And like that's still a question that I ask myself whenever I like enter a room. I'm like, how many of y'all how many of y'all voted for him? And like immediately I think of like, oh, maybe it was you, no, maybe it was you. But yeah, I went home for that day, or for that like weekend, and I like go home, see my mom, see my dog, see my brother, and like my mom like sees me in the morning, gives me a hug, and she just like cries. and she tells me that like my aunt is scared, that family is also scared, that we don't know what this like means for our safety, and like my area is full of border patrol, like always, so we don't know, like we know how to like hide and like be like safe, but like we don't know how like this president like will exacerbate the like security in our area, how like different it's gonna look. So yeah, I go to the conference, and it's like a Latino youth conference, so like everyone was like not scared, oddly, and like at the conference itself there was like no like mention or like acknowledgement of like what this means for us Latino youth, which I thought was pretty ironic. I saw a friend, and she was undocumented, or she is undocumented, and I was like, how do you feel? What does this mean for you? Like, why aren't you scared? And outside of like my family, like a lot of people in the valley were like, I guess as fine as they could be, which is kind of beautiful, in that like we each have like our community, or like my town has like systems in place that like we create for each other, and like networks of safety. Yeah, I remember just like seeing things from like that day, like that weekend I was there, from like people from my hometown, like starting at 10, like don't leave the house, like if you have a car that like is not registered under your name, like don't leave, like don't drink and drive, cause duh, but like also like don't drive with someone who has been drinking, and like that kind of thing. So like all these like very like things you shouldn't do. Yeah. And I remember going to this conference and being scared, because I knew that a huge part of like the people who voted for this person were Christians, and I was like, what is that going to mean for me? Like, I'm going to this conference, and it's like a secular environment. Like, are they going to throw it in my face? And like, they should. Like, I'm throwing it in like my brothers and sisters' faces. Like, I feel really bad, and like I don't feel safe with my brothers and sisters, so like I don't know how this is going to look like. But thankfully that didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that felt very like at our college, like we had polls taken, and the actual outcome was not the outcome that like the majority of our school wanted, like, and it was like in the newspaper, and in my mind I was like, I don't even believe it, you know. And I like remember, like, yeah, you have to be like, oh, you hear it all over, always. This percentage of white evangelicals did this, and our school is like 100% white evangelicals. You know what I mean? So it's like hard to divorce those two things of like, these are the people who did this, and like this is like a staggering statistic that is like thrown everywhere, that like everyone is like, damn, like that is so telling of the church and like who they care about and what they care about. And I was like, that is awful, because I have to be here, and I don't, like, I don't know, there's like a lot, and it's like really complicated, it's really emotional, but in the moment I was like, I don't care, like I am so scared and so sad, and I remember like the boys who would like wear like their like his slogans and like his stuff like the day after, and it's like at our college, like you don't do that. Like there's two options. Like you literally don't know that people are mourning and people are scared. Like I just like remember like being in the OMD, like people were skipping classes, like people like were crying, like people didn't want to leave. And I think it's really telling of like this is a really, really white, really, really evangelical institution. And we were all just like put in this like tiny little room, and like we didn't want to leave, and like there were definitely people who were also sad, you know, but because of these numbers and because of like the uncertainty of it all, it was like there's literally not another safe space, which sucks.
Yeah. And like looking back at it, I have friends who go to schools in Texas, and a lot of these schools sent out like, oh, like if you feel unsafe, yada yada yada, like go to this place, or like go to the counseling center, or like talk to your professors, like you shouldn't go to class, all these other things. And like our school didn't have the decency to do that to the student body here. Yeah, so I was just like looking back on it, like the neglect that like this institution had in its care for the students who like didn't feel safe the day after was not there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I think it's hard. I like know my friends from home who like my best friends, they're like all not Christians, and I love them, and like they were like, we want Hillary to win because she's like a woman and we're feminist, and we're like, and I know growing up, like it has been like instilled to me that our citizenship is in Christ first and in the kingdom of heaven. And my dad has always like said stuff of like, you know, like, I don't know, of like, we can't let these things like divide us, and they do divide us, you know, like, I like remember being like in the way of my parents of being like, oh, like I remember saying this and then like feeling stressed out, like when we were watching the election like results, being like, oh, like neither option like will be perfect, and I said it, and like I like remember the reaction, because it was like, no, Christina, like we need one outcome, because that's the one where we're the safest, and it doesn't even matter, like we should never even assume that like this like kind of like, oh well, like neither choice is perfect or like will even be good, of like if we're not safe and if our families and friends are not safe, like we don't have another choice, you know. And like a lot of the people who like are affected by the new president like couldn't vote, you know what I mean? And like that's also like, I don't know, I don't know if this is bad to talk about or not, but someone that we know was telling us like about their vote, and talking about how they didn't vote or something, but they knew that that didn't affect them, and like they made that decision like as a Christian, knowing fully and wholly that because of what they look like, as like a white upwardly mobile man, that there wasn't an immediate danger to him. And I love him so much, and I respect him, but like he was saying that and I was like crying. You know what I mean? Like I was like, you saying that is like, I understood that my choice would hurt people, but because I'm a Christian and to like feel morally sound, I had to do this, knowing what would happen. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. It just feels slightly, it's like really complicated. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this whole thing was like really emotional, like for young people. But like when I talk to my parents, it's like a lot of people like weren't that surprised. You know, like older people of color were like, yeah, this country literally sucks. Like what else would you expect for someone with like incredibly hateful rhetoric and like promises for policy change? Like people are down with that. Like that's what people want. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, so the day that person said all this, like my mom called me and she was like in tears. She was like, Gab, please pray for me because I have my citizenship test tomorrow morning and like I don't want to take it more than once. Like I've been studying so hard for it for like the past 6 months and like I'm worried about my English and like all these other things. And my mom was just like crying and crying and crying and like asking for prayers. And I was like, no, Mom, like you got it. Like you're so smart. Like you're so capable. Like you're gonna pass. And then to like go to class and hear this person say like, oh, I threw away my vote by not voting because I know that like it wouldn't affect me. I was like surprised at the coincidence of like timing. Yeah, it was like really surprising. I was like whoa, like my mom has literally been sleeping 5 hours a day because she's been studying for a test to have the privilege to vote, and this man has the privilege to vote just because he's born here and he like doesn't use that, you know. And I remember at like the moment being like angry and sad and like everyone in the room was annoyed, but for other reasons, not because this man had just said that, but because this man was taking an hour and a half to like say all this. Yeah.
Yeah. My mom is a like a nurse for pregnant, low-income women, primarily in like the Hispanic neighborhoods in our county, I guess, or something. And I remember her like I asked her, you know, like what does this do for like your work and your like just like these women that you see who are young and poor and bringing a baby into this world, like supported by a husband or maybe not, like supported by their family or maybe not, you know. And like I like remember her telling me that like in this town like there were like so many, I don't know, like immigration officers or things like that, you know, like, and I don't know, and like it's not something that I think about often for my immediate family in New Jersey or myself, you know what I mean, like, but I like, and like her being like my mom being like oh, like this lady's, like my client's husband or something was like arrested, and I was like, and like still like very confused of like what that would mean. But like my mom was like, my job is to care for these women and to support them, and they need their families. Like they need to be here with their baby. Like people can't just take them away. You know what I mean? And I was just like, my mom does something that's like not like politics, like not, she doesn't work in the government, you know, but like from the moment that this change happened, like her job was affected, and like her ability to care for that community was like so affected. And I was like, oh, and like I think it just struck me because I was like, my whole life feels different now, and I'm a student, you know, but like we're in this place where like we think a lot, we talk a lot, and that feels really different, but like everyone's lives were affected. And like when the president is someone who like you kind of like, you're like, oh yeah, no, like everything's chill, like life will just exist normally, but like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So it's been a little over a year, almost 1.5, or maybe past that. Don't know what that has meant for us here, or no, what that has meant for us. Yeah.
Yeah. I also just want to say something. Sorry, Deb. I'm thankful to my RA in that time, and I think this is really important, actually. She like kind of fell off the face of the earth a little bit during this time, and I was like, what the hell? Like I need someone. She is still a woman of color, beautiful and kind, but she like wasn't very vocal. And then I remember her sending an email and being like, hey, like I'm sorry, like I am like scared and sad, and like in pain. And she was like, I want to be able to talk to you all, like even people who were happy, you know what I mean? And like I want to like meet you where you're at, wherever you're at. And I feel like I definitely did not have, and probably still don't, like have that skill or that like vulnerability / security in myself to be like, yeah, I want open dialogue. I remember, so I like led a small group last year, and we went and like we wanted to talk about this, and like no one cared. And I like broke down. I was like, hi, small group, I want to talk to you about this. Like how are you guys feeling? Like, and they're all like, yeah, we're happy. And I was like, yay. And like, I don't know, I just like, I'm incredibly grateful to Anna for being able to like create a space of like, not even just for me, you know, because like, I think our campus was polarized, and I feel like still is. Yeah. So that's that. Second thing that I thought about, I'm thankful to the OMD, because there's something called the Harbor House. It's like this place that we go to for meetings. It's like where our meetings with all the student leaders happen, and the weekend after or something, or yeah, let's just pretend that's the weekend after, I think, the OMD like booked this house for us to be able to go and to talk and to be and that was the OMD, like another example of our community providing for us in a time where our institution and the people that we pay didn't. You know what I mean? So yeah, shout out to the OMD. And then 3, like, just in reflection of like what it has looked like for us a year later, like, and I feel like there's been a lot of change on our campus, I think. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it feels like people were like spurred on to like more discussions of politics and issues of race and diversity. Like, if in my first year of college that happened like twice, I feel like now post this change, like, it is like really tangible, you know, like, and it feels like, and not on the part of the administration, definitely not. I would not say that they do anything like,
yeah.
I think that students have been like asking more questions, using their agency to throw events, to throw panels, to bring in guests, using our community resources, like resources in the OMD for talks on immigration or talks on like living in the era of this current president. You know what I mean? And I am thankful for the fact that students have been caring for each other and using the little that we are given by the college, like, for good, I guess.
Yeah. So after the election happened, I was here for like a month, and then I left. And I was glad I was gone. I remember inauguration day, I was just like sitting in my bed, watching it and crying. Yeah, I was abroad and crying because of inauguration, and then I went out that day. And then eventually when I got to Paris, I had a host family, and it just so happened that they were having elections. France was having elections. And it was like the same like scenario. It was hypo-conservative, someone who was the opposite of that. Country was divided. And I remember feeling like hopeless, and my host family was like, oh no, like, this person cannot win, like, they're literally horrible, like, we cannot have a Trump here in France. And I was like, that's good that like my host family like is kind of nice in that, but like I don't want to burst their bubble, because like if it happened in the US, it could definitely happen here. And I just remember like being really scared, because I was like, if it happened in the US, it could happen in Europe, and it could happen in other places. And what is that gonna look like for, like, I guess, global governments? And like, what is that gonna look like for Europe? And like, they're having a lot of like immigration issues, and like a lot of like Middle Eastern people are like fleeing to Europe because we're literally bombing them. And like, what is that gonna look like? And yeah, but thankfully the person who won in France was the better option. But there's still like a lot of things that are like happening because of this presidency. A lot of conservatives are like I guess that's not a word, not a good term, like right wing conservatives are like rising up, not just here but like in other places in the globe. And that's really scary, because because of how much power the U.S. has, that like has been magnified in other countries, and the possibility of that happening in other places is also much more viable, because I guess we're an example to a lot of people. And yeah, over spring break, my mom got her citizenship, so that's happy. She doesn't have to worry about that. She can vote in the next election. I remember, like, we got out and she got, like, before, like, people, like, stood up and did, like, the swearing, there was this organization that, like, went up and they were like, hey, like, voting is, like, really important, like, y'all should register, like, we're gonna be outside with, like, the register to vote sheets, like, this should be the first thing you guys do. And I remember, like, walking out and I was like, I need to, like, register, like, I'm gonna vote, like, I'm gonna vote all the Republicans out because I don't want them anywhere. I was like, Mom, I don't think that's how it works, but, like, good. Yeah, so, like, my mom is registered to vote, and she's gonna get her passport soon, so I'm really excited for her.
This is, like, a little different. You know Yara Shahidi?
No.
I'll show you what she looks like. So basically she is on the show Blackish and Grownish. Yeah. I love her. She's 18. Yara, if you see this, like, I love you. I was watching, like, her, I don't know, on, like, Ellen or something like that. And she was, like, turning 18, and, like, for her birthday she was having, like, a voting party to, like, where she would, like, register to vote, and where she would just, like, tell all of her friends about voting. And I was like, there are just, like, so many people living in this country, like, who can't vote. And I don't know, like, there's, like, whether or not it's, like, your Christian duty to love people, I mean, to vote, or to, like, I don't know, if you're like, oh, like, I need to, like, be voting for this specific person because I'm a Christian or something like that, like, I think it is your duty to, like, love people. And so, like, I just, like, don't, like, for the people who can't vote, but also for everyone who is affected by every single thing that goes into a vote, like, what does it mean to, like, be informed and to be active and to, like, be, like, to have the motivation of, like, I am doing this for the marginalized and for the, like, quote unquote politically voiceless, because it's a privilege and it's an honor that I get because I was born here, you know, and I'm, like, really lucky, and I need to, like, be aware of that, and then act accordingly, you know. So mostly shout out to Yara, shout out to, like, voting. I think that's really important. I think it's hard at college of, like, oh yeah, like, we're at college, like, whatever, you know, but it's, like, pretty important. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I remember I got into this show called Chelsea Talk Show or something like that on Netflix, by the comedian Chelsea Handler, and her episode that came out after the day of the election was, like, really sad, and, like, everyone on the show is, like, really sad, but, like, some people were like, we're not surprised, like, this country is very bad. Other people were, like, just couldn't believe it. Other people were mad because Hillary didn't win, and it would have been, like, the first woman president, like, all these, it was, like, very, like, varying views. But like I remember in that episode, Chelsea being like, guys, like, if there's like a silver lining to this is the fact that like we have to be more politically active, and like a lot of people, like, we should exercise our vote, we should protest, we should call our senators, we should do A, B, and C to like make sure that the policies this person wants to enact are countered, and like, yeah. And I think that is a silver lining. I think that's something that I like have seen, at least on social media, I guess, and like the news, the number of protests that have ensued, the call to action to call our senators, the whole process of calling your senator making like being easier. There's a lot of organizations that like just do that, and I think that is a silver lining, but I don't think that's enough for me. I think I'm still like hopeless, and like I'm also just in general more of a, I'm not too idealistic, and like I always think the worst, and I do think it probably can get worse, and I believe that it probably will. Do I want that to happen? No, but that's just what like my mind jumps to. Yeah, but like in a different episode, Chelsea like brought in politicians, and they were talking about what like that has, what this presidency has meant, and they were like, yeah, a lot of people who like didn't think they were capable of running are like now running, like women are running, like teachers are running, and like all these other people are running because of this just like dumb man ran and became president. Like this teacher can like run and become superintendent of the school board, like that kind of thing. And I was like, that's cute. But then Chelsea was like, yeah, that's great, but Chelsea's fear, I guess, is that like more left people on the extreme left and extreme right will come, and like the people in the middle won't like run for things. And I think that's where I'm at. Yeah, I like, if that happened, I feel like worse things can happen too.
Yeah, I think generally, like, when someone who literally has no qualifications but pretty much has like a lot of money and a loud mouth can get to what is in theory one of the highest positions of power, you've seen how people are like, oh wow, like now I can talk about these things that I believe and like be more outspoken in my radicalish thought, or even my normal thought. But yeah, it's a little bad, or just has the potential to be really bad.
So what are we hoping for? Or I don't think I have a lot of hopes, but or an aspect in like the politics aspect of this country. One of my professors read a devotion, and the devotion was God punishes the unjust, and I was like really happy to hear that. Because I do believe that God does punish the unjust, and like it's not my job to condemn the unjust, it's like God's, and like God will keep them accountable. But like in that I also like freak myself out, because I'm like, a lot of my Christian brothers and sisters are the ones who are doing all these like injustices. So like, what does that look like? Like, I'm happy that God will punish them, but like, I'm also sad that they're doing this to themselves. And like, yeah, like, there's only so much you can do. Like, only so many times I can say you need to care about this because God like wants you to care about this. Yeah. And like a lot of them don't listen, and I'm like, no entiendes.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. And those are like some of my most frustrating moments, because I'm like, I don't know what you want me to say to like get through to you. / I'm tired. / I don't think I will ever get through to you. But like, in the end, I'm glad that like God does punish the unjust. And like, I believe that, but like, and that makes me happy for a half a second. But then I'm like, yeah, like, I'm sad for them, I guess.
This boy we know told us that he wants to be the mayor when he grows up. And I think that has been like one of the most like really happy things I've heard in a minute of like, I don't know, like, I'm happy, I'm hopeful in the like really quality people that I know who like want to change the world, but like not in like a I want to be the president. It's like, no, like, I don't know, like the importance of government, but like the importance of like local government and of like cities. I think I like see like
urban studies major.
And I see like the really quality people. Shout out to you, Ed, mostly Ed, who like love policy and who love urban studies. We have like a lot of shitty people who study urban studies here.
Yeah.
And like a lot of shitty people who study IR here. And like,
that's why I left the department.
Right. Like a lot of shitty people who think that they're gonna change the world, and I hate them all. But we have, I don't know, I think I'm encouraged and hopeful when I see like our friends and the people that we love like be excellent, you know, like, because they're not just like gonna do well at college, like they're gonna be the mayor, and they're gonna do it while being 100% proud and open and like raw and real and like proud to be who they are as like strong men and women of color, and like the quality white people we know too, I guess. But like not really. And this is whatever.
This is not about that.
No. And I think that like long term gives me a lot of hope. Currently I'm like meh. I feel like I'm not really good at feeling stuff about this because I'm like, I'm sad and I can't be sad all the time. I remember watching this BuzzFeed video and, I remember watching this BuzzFeed video and it was like, ladies wear suits. And they were wearing these suits like the day after the election. And they're talking about how like, oh, like this is like, we don't want to be wearing suits. Like we want to be crying, like we want to be at home, like I don't want to come into work today, I just wanted to be home. And they're talking about like the importance of like the importance of that moment of like being women, like wearing suits and like looking great and feeling powerful and feeling strong. And I feel like everyone who our current president has spoken against, like they've had the option, as we do all the time, like to hide and to be scared and to wish that we were something else, to wish that we were not women, to wish that we were not brown, like to wish to just be like white straight men always, you know. But I feel and I'm thankful for the communities of color and women and the like communities that have leaned in to their identity in in like opposition and in rejection of everything that he is, and in protest to the idea that we are, like, to not allow someone to oppress you is to be fully, like, for me, to be fully woman and to be fully brown. You know, of like, I can't pretend that that's not who I am, because it is who I am. And currently I have the agency to go to college and to be a leader and to like do all the stuff that I do. And I can do that just being like, Christina, nice girl. But it's like, no, like Christina, like beautiful brown woman, Christian, like created by God, given the gift of her brownness, which is like a beauty and a treasure. Yeah.
A lot of people on campus like to say, I don't like politics. I am like the most apolitical person ever. And I like laugh because everything you do is political, and you by saying that like is like a political act. And I think Christina is really good at like saying that, like you like being more firm and like getting in touch with your identity and like not backing down is a political act and like is an act of resistance. Like you accepting that and like thriving in that and wanting to learn more about it is a political act. It is an act of resistance. So keep doing it.
Love you. Also, like, I think for us at We In, like, specifically, like, what does it mean to not decide to, like, disengage is also protest. You know, of, like, we can literally go to college and be like, F all of you, don't talk to me. You know, like, you're dumb, like, you did this, you voted for this person, you look this way, I hate you, you're trash. That's, like, not fruitful and not the best option, but it's the easiest one. Yeah. 1 second. Oh, well,
It went back. So.
I know. So, yeah, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. Engage. Be vocal.
Yeah.
Be beautiful. Be strong.
Be you.
Be you. Beautiful. Okay. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Love you. See you soon.
Kisses.
Bye.
Bye.